The Flash episode 3, Things You Can't Outrun. Definitely a great episode. They, once again, just like last week's episode, they really had some emotional moments in this one, and there were a lot because this episode really focused on the loss of some of our main characters, particularly the, I guess, sort of side characters, I guess the side characters in Barry's group. But it was a really good episode. We got to see our first glimpse of Ronnie, who will eventually become Firestar. So that was one of the cool references they made because Danielle Panabaker's character, she's actually supposed to be um, a, a nice villain. I can't think of her actual name. I believe Killer Frost is her name. But, them saying that he's like fire and she's ice, it was kind of a cool reference that they made. But I enjoyed the episode. I loved all the flashbacks. We even got another cool little flashback, which wasn't as cool as the other ones, but at the very end of the episode where it just showed what was going on. It's like, oh, he was watching Barry. And what they do in this series, at least what they've done so far, with the last minute or so being with the same guy over and over, it reminds me a lot of season 2 of Flash. And if you aren't caught up in not Flash, of Arrow, sorry. If you're not caught up in that, I won't spoil it, but in season 2 they do that with a character, and in that it was kind of the same thing. It's like the mysterious character, you don't know really what he's going to do next, and it's just like, in this show it's way different than it was in Arrow, because in that you knew what the objective was. It was just how is the villain going to go about doing that objective, and in this you have no idea what the objective is. It's just like, is he good? Is he bad? I mentioned this in my last review. He's kind of automatically evil because I don't know why he would need to fake being in a wheelchair. I don't know what that does for him, but he's from the future. He's protecting Flash, so that kind of makes him seem good. But at the same time, you think he could just keep it simple, like, hey, I know it's a super crazy secret, but I'm from the future. I'm trying to keep you alive because I don't know why. But every time they show something with him, and I love that they do it at the end of every single episode. That's kind of what I wait for, and I was waiting to see what's the scene going to be, and I was really glad they had it. And it's just every episode I'm waiting to see, the main story is really fun and stuff, and then it's like, that's done, extra credit scene, what is he doing, who's he going to stab in the stomach, who's he going to freak out when he stands up out of the wheelchair, what is he going to do? And I have so many questions, and that's all these little scenes do, is like, what is the purpose? It's so confusing, but I love every scene where they just have him at the end. It's really nice. But overall, I love this episode. I thought it was really good. Like I said, a lot of the emotional stuff, not just with the stuff that happened, basically at the explosion and what happened during that night, but also stuff with Barry and him working together with Joe, and Joe going to see Barry's father and stuff. That was a really emotional scene as well. And then the very end of the episode, or I guess just before the very end of the episode, when Barry went to see his father, that was an emotional part of the episode too. But it was all really well done. I love the fact that when Barry went to save Joe from the guy who could turn into smoke, when he looked to see his father there, he shifted his face. He was moving his face really fast, so his father couldn't make out his features because it's his son. He'd know who he is under the mask. That basically lets all of this stay open. So he would have been able to tell. So I thought that was really cool that he was shaking his face really fast, so he couldn't tell. He blurred his own face out. I thought that was kind of funny, but that was really good. We had to see Joe sort of his daughter kind of confronted him about her dating his partner, and those were two of the funniest moments in this episode for sure, with them just getting busted. Like, he came to the house and it's like, oh yeah, like he had to just come up with the line, and then of course them getting to the hospital at the same time was really funny, and it was just like, yeah, we need to talk. So I enjoyed those parts, and it's going to get complicated, as Joe put it, but I think it'll make things a bit more interesting now that at least one secret is out in the open, not the big secret that Barry has, but Joe might find out. He probably didn't know that Barry knew about it, but he probably assumes that he does because Barry and his daughter are really, really close. But things are definitely interesting for the show. I think this episode was definitely a great one, not so much for the main villain, but really the backstory that we got for our characters. And it wasn't just with Ronnie and his wife, and I cannot for the life of me think of what her name is. I can think of Cisco because they said his name like 5 separate times. I just can't think of her name. but it focused on both of them during the flashbacks. It wasn't just how she lost her fiance, but it was how he lost a really great friend and how he had to close that door on him. And he didn't want to, of course, because he was his friend, but he had to in order to save not only himself, but who knows how many people within that building. So it was really cool that it focused on all of them and how they both dealt with the same loss, and not so much with the guy at the end, because of course he did it on purpose just to have Barry turn into the Flash. But it was really cool that it did focus on both of them and how they kind of have to deal with that. And the main point of them going down there was another great part of the episode, is that they're going to turn that area into their holding facility for all the superheroes or supervillains, and that's pretty cool. Like, they have one villain in there. I feel like we're gonna get some episode way down the line, maybe like season 3 or something, where somehow things are gonna go wrong and all the villains get out. But for now, it's just the prison for all the villains, and I'm definitely excited to see just how they use that, because for certain villains, they might have information that they need in future episodes, and they won't just be locked up. They'll be there, and it's like, all right, I need to talk to this guy again or this girl, and we need to get information. And then they kind of bring that villain back for that one episode, because for whatever reason they have some sort of connection to the big bad in that particular episode. So I'm excited for them to utilize it in unique ways, but for now I'm sure it's just going to be caught the villain, locked him up, and they'll be bouncing around turning into smoke or trying to burn the thing down, and it won't work. But overall, I definitely love this episode. A lot of great emotional parts. It was just like, man, they just keep hitting you with that. The fights were fairly interesting. I actually enjoyed the ending scene where Barry was just running from the smoke. Like, that's all he could really do is tire the guy out. And once again, it was half science based, half just normal human stuff. It's like his body, was superhuman or not, he gets tired. So whether you're metahuman or anything, you're gonna get tired. So it was really cool that they put that in there, and he just couldn't turn into smoke. His cells had to come back together and really be solid. So that's how Barry took him out, and he just, one punch and he was done. But I enjoyed the scene, Barry running at super speed, and he was just shooting down the super long highway and stuff. I even loved the scene. I don't know why it really stood out, but there was one part, and I think it was before the guy actually turned solid, when Barry actually stopped and he really slid across the ground. For some reason, I really love when they do that in this show, and I think they've only done it like one or two other times, and any other time he's actually running and trying to slow himself down, but that time he was able to just slide because there was like water on the ground, so he just slid to a stop. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. I can't wait to get more of Ronnie, because I know he's going to be a superhero in the series. I was hoping that we'd get to see him in this episode. It would be like, that could have replaced the end credit thing if he actually came back to life, or it was revealed that he was actually alive. He survived, or maybe he had just come back or whatever. But I'm excited to see him fully come into the series as a superhero, and how that's going to affect the characters. Like, hey, you were dead, much like the villain in this episode, except in a really good way. Like, oh, this guy that everyone likes came back to life. But overall, a great episode. Of course, comment below, let me know what you guys thought about it, your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And with them having focused on two of our characters, who do you guys want to get a backstory for in upcoming episodes? I mean, there's not much that we can really get. We have Barry's backstory. I don't know if you guys would really want Joe's backstory. He was a human and he had a kid. That's, not much there. But for me, it would definitely be the one person who's a mystery in this series. And the reason is just to get some answers. I think that would pretty much be who everyone wants to see, like his backstory, because he's from the future. We don't know anything about him. We just don't know. For all we know, he could be superhuman. I kind of doubt it, but who knows? Like, there's so many secrets wrapped around this guy. He's just an enigma. So he's just from the future, and I don't know. But I'd love to get some sort of backstory on him. But if you guys have any other thoughts for who you guys want to see backstories on, please put it down in the comments below. And thanks for watching.